mindset.
The mentality here is we're in our playoffs just 1 week early. It's win or go home. So that's the mentality for our guys. But we have the talent, we have the scheme. We just have to go out there and execute it and do our jobs. These are the moments you ask for when you're little. You dream of playing in the games where it comes down to you have the ball in your hands and you want to take care of business.
I'm so excited for this weekend. It's really an extra, he's right. Like, this is just a bonus playoff weekend. It's a playoff game for them. It's a playoff game for the Dolphins. It's a playoff game for the Cardinals.
I think the line's up to like 10. So
Well, Mason Rudolph is getting the start.
Yeah, that's not great.
So if the Browns lose to the Steelers, they can still make the playoffs. If the Colts lose to the Jags, wouldn't count on that. And the Titans lose to the Texans.
I wouldn't count on that.
And the Ravens and Dolphins both win. So they're not completely done if they lose, but there's a lot of scenarios that have to go their way. So they want to just control their destiny, get this win, which they should have done last week against the Jets, but obviously they didn't have all of their personnel.
Yeah.
So Phillip Rivers is looking to take the Colts to the playoffs in his first season with the team. They need a win and some help to get in, and he realizes this could be his last game in the NFL. He said, it did cross my mind. If things don't go the way you want this weekend, it could be. I guess it's healthy to have that thought because we're not guaranteed anything going forward. He also said he doesn't want this to be the end, but he knows it's a business and he recognizes his age. He did tie Dan Marino for 5th place on the career touchdown list with 420 this season. He's also 5th in all-time passing yards.
2 games this year, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, where Indy is clearly the better team in the first half on script. And then in the second half, Lamar and Ben, second half, you're off script, right? There's more ad-libbing. You make adjustments at half, but you're off script. And in both second halves, Ben and Lamar look so much better and so much more dynamic. And it's unfair because he also had a really good second half against Green Bay. But those games just stick in my mind. The Baltimore game and the Pittsburgh game, they had control of, and in the second half, he just couldn't make enough plays. And maybe it's unfair, but I just think Chris Ballard looks at that and think, we're so close to being like a 12-win team.
Oh, they absolutely are. They have great pieces.
Yeah.
And it's not that he's had a bad season. He's 68.2 completion percentage, 9th in the NFL in passing yards, 23 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Perfectly capable, but he does have limitations.
Big. And you saw
he looks more stable than he did last year with the Chargers offensive line, but we knew that was going to happen. I could see this being his last game, mostly because the quarterback shuffling that's going to go on in this offseason is going to leave a team like the Colts open and available. He only has a 1-year deal. Obviously, Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, these are conversations being had at that position. I mean, imagine if Carson Wentz is there in this situation and you're the Colts. Next season, don't you feel a lot better about where the Colts are if Carson Wentz is there?
Oh, God, yes. Absolutely.
And forget the season that Carson Wentz has had this year.
I watched the Steelers-Colts last week, and I said this Monday, all I could think about all game is, God, Carson Wentz would make these teams so much better. Just more dynamic, bigger, and then...
Yeah, well, the Steelers are going to be stuck with Ben until Ben decides to leave, and then they'll have to scramble and figure out what
That's not going to be a pretty ending.
Yeah, that is definitely what the Steelers do. That is on brand.
Yeah.
They don't have a replacement.
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Go to podcast, All Ball, iTunes, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
On the news. This is the Herd Lie News.
You know what's funny too, Joy? In the NBA, Josh Allen would win it because in the NBA, it's about the story, and his story's better. And also in the NBA, Mahomes and Rodgers would be criticized because they're, like super teams. I mean, Mahomes is on a super team. Whereas in the NBA, you get value working with, like, Russell Westbrook. Durant leaves, he gets a triple-double by himself. So Josh Allen as an NBA player would be a much more intriguing story, and he'd probably win it.
I think the issue is, similarly with NBA and with NFL, is the naming of the award. Because we can never decide what is the criteria. Like last year, Giannis got it mainly because he had better numbers than he had the year before when he won it.
Yeah.
Like that was just the only argument. Like, well, he won last year and he has better numbers this year. Like, okay, but that's not what the award is. It's not a numbers award. Like, so what is the award? I think doesn't quite roll off the tongue the same way.
Right.
But I think it's really most outstanding player.
Yes.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, I think MOP is what it should
MOP
be.
is not as good as MVP.
Right.
But that's what it is. Like if we reprogram ourselves to stop thinking of the word value and just think who is the most outstanding player this year?
Yeah,
that's really what the award is.
Yeah, and then I would say Aaron Rodgers won, Josh Allen 1A, and Mahomes, who's had a bad December.
But then doesn't that make you feel more comfortable?
Absolutely.
Giving it to Aaron Rodgers?
Absolutely.
So let's all just decide together.
Well,
let's all in agreement. We are the truth brokers of the United States of
Honesty
America.
brokers in America.
Yes.
Well, the Heisman's had the same issue where it always goes to a quarterback. And there have been years where the best player, like Chase Young was the best player in college football, but it's just understood the Heisman is just a quarterback award. It's like, or a running back out of a system which runs the ball for, like Clemson's running backs behind a bunch of NFL offensive linemen are always going to have big yards.
Right. Most outstanding player.
Right.
Let's just reprogram ourselves. So Tua is playing the biggest game of his young career on Sunday. If the Dolphins win, they secure their spot in the postseason. But Tua is not putting any extra pressure on himself to get the win.
I'd say for me, there's really, no extra added pressure for me. I would say the expectation for myself is very high in, how I perform and how I go out there and try to lead the guys to victory. Obviously, this past weekend, I didn't play to that standard, and it's